All right, let's crank it over. Welcome back to Living with a Classic, and we're here with the stubborn S-Type. Remember, tried to fire it up in the last video with the new engine and the fuel pump was dead. I've actually pulled the fuel pump out of it off camera and bench tested it. You know what? The pump works. So either it was just me feeding 12 volts to it on the bench that made it unstick, or something else. But let me show you that it actually works. We're going to try and put it back in the car and see if it works now, and hopefully fire this thing up. The funny thing is, if you follow the channel Fears Driving, Matt over there, I was talking to him earlier. I really like his Mondeo series, and we were talking, and that we're just experiencing the exact same things, just how similar these cars are built up, even though this is based on the platform with the Thunderbird and all that. But the whole pump setup, I really like it under the rear seat, and it's basically a Ford Mondeo pump setup. So getting a fuel pump is like 10 bucks and putting it in the whole fuel carrier, so that's a really good thing. But let me show you what it looks like in the tank here. I'll show you the fuel pump sort of carrier holder, and then we'll have a look at the fuel pump actually running on the bench. Even though it's -8 degrees Celsius out, I have the door open because it smells like a lot of fuel here, because there's a massive hole into the fuel tank. There we go. That looks very nice and clean in there. And the fuel doesn't smell stale. I think I added fresh fuel to this thing when I started up the engine a couple years ago, the old engine. So here's the whole carrier thing. I believe that could be a fuel filter or something. I'm not actually sure, but the pump sits in there and it's over at the bench. Please excuse the extreme mess on the bench. I wasn't planning on filming or doing anything. I just really quickly wanted to see if this works, but I have positive hooked up here with a little connector, and I got a sleeve on there so it can't short circuit. And then here is the negative. So that pump runs really well. So either there's a wiring issue in the car. I thought about the inertia switch as well. We're going to have to try and find it. Or just me supplying 12 volts directly from a battery unstuck the pump. But let me put all this back together and we'll plug it into the car, but we're not going to, let's not put it all the way in. If we can, see if we can lay it sort of in the back. Just turn the ignition and see if we actually hear the pump run or not. The pump is back in there, and I've just laid it across here and hooked up the power to it. Hooked up the battery, and let's just turn the ignition, if I can find the keys. There they are. And we should hear it spin over. Hopefully. You hear that? We have a working fuel pump. So I'm going to put this all together and we'll see if we get prime up at the fuel rail. That's in place. Really, really easy way to get to a fuel pump. So well done, Ford, on that part. Let's see. Yes, I hear it. So should get fuel here. Yep, you saw that? I can push it one more time, but yep, we have fuel pressure. Great. I'm going to put new plugs in this thing, put the coil packs back on, put the intake on with the last sensors, put the battery on charge again, and then let's see if this thing fires into life. Got the last of the coils to go on this side. Of course, this engine is a coil unplug variant. And on this side, it's anything you want to do on this side is a little bit tight in this particular engine. But I'm going to get these in there. They're just held in place with one bolt. But I have found that it's easier to put the electrical connection on them first before you push them in all the way. Put in the new plugs. Feeling confident here that's going to run, and hopefully that wasn't a waste of plugs. Just because it does run, there's no point in taking this all apart again. Alright, a little fiddly here. I'll get all this together, and then I think we'll just have a look at the intake. We're getting very close to firing this thing up. This should be the last thing to fire it up. Just like the last video, I haven't done anything else. You don't have a coolant system or anything, so if it does fire, we're only talking running it maybe 30 seconds or so. But it needs the MAF at least, or sensor over there to work, and that's when I plug some of these because that would be a bad vacuum leak. So we'll do that one over there. Find the connectors for intake, air temperature, and the mass airflow sensor. So we should have some connectors over here. There we go. The one sort of thing that I don't really know is, if you remember I showed underneath last time, I damaged one connector when I put the engine in, and that was a crank position sensor. It's just 2 pins. I think I have them the right way around, but if we're not getting any sign of life at all, I got to switch those 2 around. But otherwise, I think this is it. Everything is connected up there. Batteries connected up. I have disabled the alarm. So what do you guys think? Should we just crank it over? I have thought about doing the whole flooded V8 thing where you mash the throttle all the way and then slowly let off as you crank, but it shouldn't be flooded. I was thinking of building up compression, but we did that WD-40 thing, cranked it over. It has new plugs. I think we'll prime the fuel system a couple times and then just crank it over. So let's see how it goes. Got all the fingers and all the toes crossed, everything. Let's see. Okay, that was a fuel pump. Definitely. All right, let's crank it over. Nothing. Trying again. Nothing. I swapped the 2 connectors over for the crank position sensor. Let's see if that makes a difference. Yes! We have oil pressure. Quite a bit of smoke from everything, but that makes sense. I also did fill those cylinders with WD-40, and we also did just crank it over with it not starting. But yeah, the only warning light that was on the dash was it's not charging. It makes sense. We don't even have the belt hooked up. But let's see if it has one more. We'll start in it. It's not going to hurt it. Hopefully I haven't flooded it. These V8s are known for that. That is very, very smooth. Definitely an all 8. Very nice and quiet. Ton of smoke out the back. But that is sort of to be expected. It is idling. The smoke has now cleared and I closed the garage door again. It's really cold. It's about -10°C outside. Really, really cold. But it ran. I'm so excited. I mean, it's been the forever project. I never thought it would get up and running again, but now it does. It smokes like crazy, but that's not weird because I've had so much oil in those cylinders. Over the year, I've had that engine just to make sure it's, it stays fine and that nothing happens with it. It's also been upside down while we did the, sump and all of that. So not really weird at all. I think I'm going to finish off everything with the coolant system and all of that. And then I'll bring you guys back for when we have it sitting closer to the door with the exhaust on the outside of the building, and then fire it up and let it really get up the temperature and make sure everything's fine. See if it goes into gear, see if the brakes works and all that. But that will be a future video. But finally, the S-Type is up and running again on all 8 cylinders. The new engine does sound really sweet. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Until next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.